Hey, Happy New Year, Moms and Master Books. We are looking forward to a fantastic 2019. I hope you are too. Uh, hey, I want to tell you, give you an encouragement, if I can. Um, we started homeschooling over 20 years ago. And when we started homeschooling, we were a bit concerned. Maybe we were making the biggest mistake of our lives. Uh, and in letting our pulling our kids out of school and beginning to start this journey of coming home. And we were just hopeful that we weren't doing that this what we were choosing to do in homeschooling was actually going to be beneficial. And that as that story has unfolded over the past 20 years, we now have 5 children that have graduated and have stepped into life. It was the absolute best decision that we ever made. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that story today, and I hope it's an encouragement to you if you're struggling and stressed about your children's future, no matter what stage of that journey you're in. Before I do, please comment today's video. I'm going to give $2,500 in reward points. We'll add to somebody's account who has commented. We'll choose somebody later today or tomorrow. And I'll announce that on this post, but we love to hear your feedback, and just to get participation, be sure to comment. Okay, so we have 9 children. We've homeschooled for 20 years. I was the principal of the school that my daughter was in. My oldest daughter was in that school about first grade. Things just started not feeling right. We really felt the Lord was pushing strongly towards moving us into the homeschool journey. And so we began that. And years ago, American Online was one of the first big internet experiences that we had. And there was a chat room called Homefront Hall. And there were about 20 parents that just came in almost every night and supported each other and began to say, boy, I hope we're doing this all right. And we just gave a lot of encouragement. And those 20 moms, some of the moms that we met in that group, or the families that we met in that group, we are still friends with to this day. We've been able to go to their graduation parties. We've been able to do different things as we walk that journey together. Well, we should have a fair amount of confidence, but even still, every child is different. The seasons of life are different. We try to encourage you as parents to say there are different seasons in homeschooling. Some seasons are really tough. You have baby seasons where it's just survival, or maybe there's sickness in the family. Our whole family was sick over the holidays with the flu and colds. Well, it's nice to be able to step back and say, this is a season, we're going to catch this up, right? Well, we have my 5th daughter. Her name is Joy, and she lives up to her name at every level. But in elementary school, of course, we were growing a business. We were in ministry. We had 5 kids. We had just built a house and moved into the house. There's just a lot going on. And in elementary school, she was struggling to just grasp concepts. Like I would spend hours with her doing multiplication facts, and not just little hours, like week hours, right? And she just was struggling to grasp it. And we went through this concept like it was going on and on year after year, and her confidence was being shaken. If I was frustrated, she was getting frustrated. She was just struggling. And one test, I needed her to do well on the annual achievement test. And so we really kind of taught to the test. I worked with her on the problems that she was going to encounter on the test. And we spent just a lot of time there, and she did really well, actually. And that was a turning point for her because her confidence changed. But her strength has always been people. That's just who she is. Wow, it's good to see everybody joining. Her strength is people. And if you are joining and you haven't commented, be sure to comment, because we're going to add 2,500 reward points to somebody's account either today or tomorrow. So her strength was people. And she actually in high school did very well. She found a way to catch her own rhythm, and she was doing well with the courses she did. And so we had hope, and she graduated this last year. Well, now there were certain things like testing for her is a challenge, but she's very bright. It's just hard for her to do tests. She just kind of freezes up on a test. And we looked at, she was looking at, would she want to go to college? What did she want to do with the rest of her life? So over the summer, she worked in the warehouse here, and you'll notice if you were one of the people who actually got a box from Joy, Joy would write, "You rock, thank you, we love you." She would make your box feel like it was something special out of the 200 boxes that got shipped that day. That's kind of who Joy is. If she touches your life, she's going to make sure that you feel special because she just automatically feels you're a special person. Well, so as summer came to a close, she moved out of that, and we were just really seeking the Lord and waiting. Well, last spring, we bought an American Bulldog. And the mother of this dog was 120 pounds. The dad was 135 pounds. And so this puppy went from being this adorable little puppy to being about 90 pounds. And a 90-pound puppy is a knee breaker, right? Just a terror. So Joy has completely fallen in love with this dog. And she decided that if I would pay for it, she would take the dog to dog obedience school, I think it is. Yeah. So she took the dog to obedience school. And of course, she's Joy. And so she's in with a lot of adults, and she's the only one who's under the age of 18. And she has a dog that you will never forget. And so she's next to this person who has a Chihuahua. So you have 90-pound Annie, and then you have lady with Chihuahua. At the end Joy was looking for her next opportunity, and she had put in some applications some places. And ironically, I said, you ought to stop at the vet and throw in an application at the vet. Maybe they could use somebody at the desk or whatnot. Well, so she did that on a Friday. She had dog training on a Monday, and the lady who was next to her said, after class, Joy, may I talk to you privately? And of course, Joy is wondering what Annie did to the Chihuahua or what could have possibly happened that she would need to be talked to privately. But here's the cool twist. Okay, so after that class, the lady said, I own one of the vet clinics in town, and I see how good you are with the dog that you have. I'd be interested in bringing you in and training you and helping you to become a vet tech. Now, in Joy's academic career, if you had told me that she would ever do anything that was technical, like become a vet tech, I would have steered you the other way. I would have said, move in a different direction. That's probably not going to be the best career path for Joy. But God, who, as I posted the scripture, Proverbs 16:9, the mind of man plans a way, but the Lord actually directs his steps. So in that moment, the lady says, come and work with me. I'll train you. I'll sponsor you. I'll invest in you and train you how to become a vet tech. So that was a few weeks ago. Joy has taken on the job of becoming a vet tech. She's actually assisted in surgeries. We didn't think that she'd be able to take some of the things like putting animals down or that type of thing. And actually she enjoys the high action. Like in the vet office, there's always something going on. A trauma is coming in, somebody's upset, whatever. She thrives in that atmosphere. And because she loves people, she loves connecting with them. So even if their animals just put down, she enjoys that connection with them and actually ministering to them and serving them. And I could not describe a better opportunity for her. As you see her come home at night, she works a long day, but when she comes home, she is like so energized. Like there's been crisis after crisis. She's had to deal with things and situations that I never would have imagined for her that she's ecstatic about. And this is the area that I would encourage you with younger kids, because there are so many times as we would struggle through these times tables, or um, or she was just struggling to retain information or whatnot. And I would think, I want the best for my kids, and how am I going to move her into something? And I carried that responsibility of her future and her career and that type of thing, as opposed to just saying, Lord, I'm going to train her with as many tools as I can, so wherever you direct her steps, she will be prepared for that. Now, that was happening because she was in ministry with us and she was in a business with us. She was learning people skills. She was learning to communicate her ideas and make people feel listened to and valued and those type of things. She's also extremely hard worker and can, like, if you give Joy a task, she can make things happen in a quick amount of time. So I carried the stress. And even as she graduated, thinking, okay, what's going to happen next? How do we position her in a place and all of that, as opposed to actually trusting the Lord to say, Lord, it's you who directs the steps, right? Proverbs says the favor of the Lord makes one truly rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. So even though I know these things here, sometimes it's hard to have it here. And my encouragement in this story is really, here's a kid that had struggled and all of her elementary learning experience, excelled in high school and done well in high school, but was still not ready to do the rigors of college and these things. And then the Lord ends up bringing this animal into our lives, Annie, our 90-pound American Bulldog, and Joy takes her to a class, and turns out that she's training right next to a vet who says, I'm looking for somebody just like you, and I'm willing to help invest in you so that you can begin a career in veterinary medicine. And who could even, I can't even, I'm still shocked. Like, only God could do that. And as I look through my other children, right, like my oldest daughter is working with a company that is, they treat her phenomenal. She works with customer service. She works from home full time. And is extremely happy in what she's doing. My sons, and the way the Lord has orchestrated their lives and helped to position them, only God is able to actually accomplish what he wills for us. And sometimes I think we need to step back and say, today, let's focus on the skills that will help prepare them for the paths that the Lord has prepared for them, and not worry so much about the path that I need to prepare for them, but actually just help prepare them so that when they put their foot to the ground on the journey that he has for them, they're equipped. What would I consider those things to be? I think communication skills are very important. I think it's important that our children learn how to communicate their ideas. With my younger children, or my older children, I put a lot of emphasis on controlling their emotions. With my next set of kids, I still want them to be in control of their emotions, but I want them to be able to communicate to me their frustrations. So rather than just put up and shut up, I want them to be able to put up, but also to be able to explain to me why they're frustrated, so that we can communicate that and that they understand what their frustration is, as opposed to just bottling up the emotions. So being able to communicate effectively, I think, is very importantly. That's like a word, bigly. So I think that's important. I love writing strands, because writing strands teaches kids to choose their words to describe things so other people can experience that emotion up here. One thing Joy has done with me a lot, she's listened to a lot of marketing, a lot of persuasion, influence, coaching type seminars as we've traveled and done different things together, and she's able to communicate effectively her ideas. So that's one. The second would be people skills, exposing our kids to different situations, different. Maybe they're uncomfortable, but there's nothing like having to conquer your fear than going into McDonald's or Burger King and having to order 21 hamburgers, 9 fries, 9 drinks, and help them understand this is for one family that you're ordering a meal for. Our kids, a lot of times, when they reach a certain age, we actually will put them in charge of the menu and they'll do the shopping. And so for Joy right now, she does a lot of the grocery shopping. And so she'll go to the grocery store and have to do that and deal with situations that maybe are a little bit more uncomfortable, but help her relate to the people around her and that type of thing. So I think people skills are really important. If you're an adult watching, which I know you should be, your ability to network, your network is probably the biggest thing that the Lord will use to bring about new opportunities in your life. And so for Joy, the network, there were a lot of people that were applying for the position of vet tech, but Joy went into a situation where she was with strangers in a completely foreign situation. I don't know that I would have had the courage to do what she did, and with this dog, but she networked and was able to meet somebody, and it was that network that helped position her. So now she's even creating newer and bigger networks. So teaching our kids not to shy away from relationships. I think it's important to teach them that not every relationship is a friendship, that sometimes we can have acquaintances in our lives. We can have people that we know that we're friendly towards, but maybe aren't necessarily our friends. They're friends that we reserve those special moments for and those deep secrets for, and then we have acquaintances. So there's different circles of influence. Kristen explains it like we have our inner circle. These are the people we trust. We would trust these people with our deep secrets. Then we have friends. These people have a level of trust, but maybe they're not necessarily trusted with our deepest secrets. Then we have acquaintances. And these are people that we know, we would call upon, we would talk to and be friendly towards, but they're out here. And teaching our kids how to associate with each level and understand how to have health at each level, I think is really important. So people skills, communication skills, and then the one that I think is kind of a foundation of master books is learning is an adventure, that it's fun to learn new things. It doesn't have to be all about memorize this, take the test, and you're either a success or a failure. It should be about, look at this grand creation God has created for us to enjoy and discover. And as we discover it and we apply what we're learning to our lives, or maybe we just enjoy the knowledge for the sake of knowledge, but we don't necessarily have to pass the test to be a success. What we need to do is enjoy learning. And so in this situation right now with Joy, I think, things that we would never have trained her in, what different diseases are, what different medical equipment is, what a CC is when you're pulling something. I forget what the medicine is that she knows, the one that they use. There's one that she's become very familiar with in putting an animal down. And so she's getting exposure to all these different things that we never would have trained her for. But she's looking forward to it because learning is an adventure. And you know what, with master books, that's what we want. We want people to see the context. God is creator. This is his creation. He's positioned us in his creation. That's a privilege and an honor. It's not a right. It's a privilege and an honor. And once we're able to understand that God has given me access to his creation and that he's brought me into this for just a season of time, that I can enjoy and participate in what he's doing and learning about the things that he's created, the laws and the rules that he's put in place. Once I realized that man had a big responsibility in that and that he blew it, and because of that we have a sin nature, and that sin nature has caused pain and suffering, and because of that we see that around us, we understand our order in God's created universe. Those things really begin to help us position ourselves and change the perspective that we have. And yeah, it's so hard because with learning, from first grade to 12th grade, we just, hey, this is school and this is what school looks like. And being able to relax a little bit and say, let's begin to really learn the skills, the foundation things that help us no matter where God brings us. If I can communicate my ideas, if I can learn quickly, right? Knowledge is everywhere. I can Google something and within 24 hours, I can become almost an expert on something. Now, there are fields that somebody needs to be able to be targeted towards, to become a doctor or to become a veterinary or those types of things where they're very specialized skills. Absolutely, you need to invest yourself there. There are a lot of general skills. The knowledge is everywhere. I can have so much access to information. It blows my mind. But to be able to apply that knowledge to my life to actually make it work for me, that's a whole different skill. And so when we're learning math, we're learning about God's order and his universe and the rules that he has, and it helps us to become successful wherever God takes us in the path that he has for us. So if you're stressed today about your kids, maybe they're delayed, maybe there's a special need or a handicap that they're dealing with, I would just encourage you that our God is an amazingly big God, and we don't know. And we have to be careful even not to limit our children, because I never would have said, Joy, you should go look at becoming a vet tech. Now, since Joy's gotten this opportunity, there's another member in the family who had actually gone to college for this and is struggling to find a position, a job. And only God, because God opens up a position and says, no, I have created a position for her and I've prepared her for this, Joy, for this. And so I'm going to bring her into this and I'm going to give her this opportunity. That's the God we serve, right? That's the living faith. That's living God that we have, that when we actually are able to, and sometimes even when we can't, I think God helps us move to that place where we do our part with our kids. We homeschool them, we prepare them, we give them what we can, and then God Almighty, who is amazing, right, moves them into those places. If I can say one more thing, when we look at the Bible and we look at different stories in the Bible, we see somebody like Joseph. Here's Joseph in a large family. Joseph finds himself at the bottom of a well, beaten up. He's been betrayed by his family. And at that place, anybody would have looked and said, this is just not a good thing. God obviously doesn't care about Joseph. His family doesn't care about Joseph. He has no hope. And I just think at that moment, God must have been like so blown away and excited. Like, I'm about to do something big in Joseph's life. And yeah, he's in the bottom of a well and he's all beat up and he's feeling sorry for himself right at the moment. But he doesn't get that I'm moving him into the future. I'm preparing him. I'm positioning him into the place where I'm going to do something big in his life. And then he takes him from there and he places him in Egypt and he refines him a little more and he works him a little more. And I got to think, even when Joseph goes from Potiphar's house into the prison cell and he's there in the prison, that you got to think, well, it's worthless. There's no point. And again, God is moving him and positioning him and preparing him for what he had. So when we see our kids in these places, we see them in the well, or we see them in the prison cell, or we see them in different things, to look at it from the eternal God perspective. God has given us promises. For me, the promise is, great would be the peace of my children. They would know God, be known of God, taught of him. And I hold dearly to that. And even when I see them go through seasons that are a little bit more painful, or the well where it's lonely and it's cold and it's wet, and I remind myself that he is positioning them and moving them into the paths that he is directing them into. And so the mind of man plans the way, but the Lord directs his steps. And so I would encourage you, just like I'm encouraging myself with my children, that I can do everything I can, but it is God who will direct their steps, and he knows the perfect plan for our children. So it is an awesome adventure we're on as we begin 2019. We are so excited. We have so many new exciting products coming out, and this group has been amazing. We reached the milestone of 10,000 members, and I couldn't think of a better group of people to be invested in and to grow with. And when we do a Facebook Live, we're not really doing it from the standpoint of we know everything. We are peers with you. We are homeschoolers with you. We are learning as we go. We are applying the truths that we learn, and we share them in hopes that maybe they'll be an encouragement to you or save you a little bit of anxiety and pain along the way from things that we've learned in our journey. So again, be sure to comment on the post. We're going to grab somebody's account and throw 2,500 reward points into it. Reward points, if you make a purchase at masterbooks.com, reward points get added to your account every time you do. 5% of every purchase. So if you purchase $100, I think it's 500 reward points get added to your account towards future purchases. And so 2,500 reward points is equivalent to $25 towards your next purchase. And so we've had some moms who've taken advantage of that and done, they've gotten a lot of their curriculum purchased. You can also, if you log into your membership account, if you log into masterbooks.com, there's a section there for reward points, and there's a link. And you can grab that link and ask anybody who hasn't placed an order yet to use that link. And every time they place the first order, you get 10% of their order worth of reward points. Every purchase that they make after that, as long as they're making purchases through Master Books, you continue to get reward points. So we have a mom who has a co-op, and she's had a number of people use her link to go and make purchases. And new customers, they'll go in and use that. And then as they continue to make purchases, it continues to build. I think it's like 2% for every order after their first one continues to go into their account. So reward points are awesome. If you don't use them, we'd encourage you to, because it's a great way to save money on the curriculum that you have, and encourage others as well. So, hey, God bless your year. We look forward to this, and we look forward to continuing this journey with you. Thank you for joining me today. I pray it was a blessing to you and your family. Relax. God has our kids. As hard as it is sometimes to understand, He is moving and positioning them and preparing them all the time. Let's just do our part to give them as many tools as we can so that when they hit the road and do that journey, that they're equipped. All right, guys, God bless you. Have a fantastic week. We will be back in touch next week.